you have federal officers who are trying to enforce federal law
Yeah.
who are not being supported by the local PD. And in fact, not only not being supported, but almost you have like the mayor and the governor of the
Mhm.
state encouraging the opposition to these federal officers enforcing federal law. Now they're trying to make it seem like they're jackbooting around the cities,
Yes.
just collecting people at random. I just saw a video, I think it was like these 2 men were outside of a coffee shop minding their own business. Like, this is the narrative. They're out there minding their own business, and, Border Patrol rolls up on them all of a sudden and takes them and arrests them. And
Mhm.
they're like, "Well, these guys weren't doing anything. They were just minding their own business." And then it's MSNBC. There's this one reporter that's doing a lot of this reporting. And he's like asking people, "Well, how do you know? Or what do they do?" And so there's an emphasis, like if you listen to the interview, there's an emphasis on like they were just standing around doing minding their own business, having a coffee before they went to work. They have a family. They're asked, where are they from? And you can tell that the individual that's being interviewed gets uncomfortable because this person's from Mexico, and you
Mhm.
get the vibe that they're illegal.
Yeah.
My question would be, this would be my question, were the officers looking for them specifically because of the fact that they had a deportation order on them?
Yeah. These are good questions.
Those are questions that are worth at now. If it's something like they're literally just kind of driving around and there's 2 random dudes standing outside a coffee shop and they're just like, "Let's pluck these people up." Okay, that's a fair thing to investigate and to question. But my assumption would be, and I would hope the situation would be, that they have an order, they've been following, investigating where this individual frequents. They
Mhm.
go to the area, they find them,
Yep.
they arrest them for deportation. That is the assumption that I would make. The question, but just because I'm assuming that doesn't mean, like, it's not fair to question it or investigate it. One thing I thought, so Megyn Kelly brought something up, um, that I thought would be interesting to share here. So she shared this X post, not too long ago, and it was during this entire time. And it says, in January 2024, the Biden administration wanted to stop Texas from putting up razor wire along the border. It argued before the Supreme Court successfully that the feds were responsible for enforcing immigration law and that any other finding, quote, would leave the U.S. at the mercy of the states, which should not be able to dictate how the feds go about it. Now, the feds under Trump are enforcing immigration laws in Portland and LA and Chicago. Democrat politicians in these states now not only refuse to help, but are suing to stop Trump from interfering in their
Mhm.
localities by sending the National Guard. So what she is arguing is, or she's pointing out that the very same thing that Biden used as an argument to
Mhm.
take down that razor wire that the state of Texas was putting up in order to
Yep.
defend its borders should be used as a defense and against Illinois and California and Portland, not Portland, Oregon, because they've already ruled that, what was it? The quote was, it would leave the US at the mercy of the states, which should not be able to dictate how the feds go about it. So ultimately, I'm kind of bringing that up because again, that is case law that we
Yep.
have, which a lot of times the Democrats love to point
Oh,
to.
yeah. Stare decisis. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That defends or, gives Trump the right to enforce federal law and to defend his federal officers and his federal facilities, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm also bringing this up because he had a meetup in the Oval Office with Carney, and the
Mhm.
day before he had some other kind of press conference. I can't remember which one it was, where he
There's just
was,
so many.
yeah, he was he was
There are so
asked
many.
about the Insurrection Act.
Mhm.
Now, the Insurrection Act of 1807 empowers the president to deploy troops domestically to enforce federal laws. And it can be invoked when states cannot or will not suppress insurrections or obstructions.
Mhm.
And a lot of things that you're hearing from Pritzker, for example, or from the governor of Oregon is like, we have no insurrection here. Well, I think the question is, what is an insurrection or obstruction
Yeah.
of federal law? So he was asked about the Insurrection Act. Let me play Trump talking about this.
Over a weekend. What?
The Insurrection Act, under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I'd do it if it was necessary. So far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe.
Can we talk about Portland for a second? Are you
So now he's asked again the following day when he's meeting with Carney.
a very long-standing law that's been on the books?
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple. They probably had 50 murders in Chicago over the last 5, 6, 7 months. Many people were shot. And then the governor...
So he's been asked about it. He was asked about it the first time, and he's like, I could if I wanted to. I haven't
Right.
yet, and I'm not, I don't think it's necessary yet. But then he's asked about it again. Now, I will say that in the second one, he brings up issues of crime, which,
Mhm.
I don't think you can be issuing the Insurrection Act
Right.
because of just general
I think in
issues of
his
crime in a city.
Well, in his mind, he's like thinking of mass crime. Like, when over a weekend, 40 people are killed, or there's,
Yeah.
that's mass crime. Does that constitute the Insurrection Act? Well, then that's when you get into the legal weeds. And, that's a different conversation. But you're right. You can't just go, there's a lot of crime in that state. Insurrection.
Well, I think you have more of an argument, and I mean, this is going to freak people out, but I would say you would have more of an argument if you have a state that is
Mhm.
encouraging opposition of federal law enforcement. Like, it is encouraging people to mobilize and oppose federal law enforcement from lawfully enforcing federal law.
Well, that is an insurrection of sorts if you're telling your citizens to reject the law of our country actively and
the law
impede
that is-
their impede their ability to do their job. That's kind of like, I think we should probably do an unfiltered or have a sit down and talk about sanctuary cities. I do not
Oh.
understand how they are legal. What is happening? Like,
and
that
it's
is a mini
well,
insurrection to me.